Puerto Rico's first Ethiopian Orthodox church. That's the reason I'm here actually in Puerto Rico visiting the church.
Hi, greetings everyone, family. This is Deacon Haile Gabriel from Puerto Rico. Gabriel. I found the church in 2014 in California, in San Jose, California. I was living there at the time, and by the grace of God, I was kind of taking my kids to a soccer game when I found the church next door to the place where we were playing the game. And time passed, and fast forward, long story short, we started getting in contact with the Ethiopian community in California through Melkam Addis Ahmed celebration, New Year celebration, and at one point I picked up a brochure or a flyer of Learn Amharic, and that attracted me to the church. And I went there looking for the Amharic class. There was no class that day, and they invited me to come. That was Saturday. They invited me to come next day, Sunday, to church. And the next day, as soon as I walked into the church, it was like a punch in my heart. It knocked me down. It made me kind of like pray to God in my head and tell God, God, sorry for being away from church for so long. And I had my little children with me. At that time, they were like 7, 9, and 10. And I put my children in the hands of God, and that transformed my life that day. And I asked God that day also to keep me coming to church every Sunday. I didn't want to go astray again no more from being participating in church and being at church and at least trying to live a good life. So we kept on going every Sunday. Eventually I started feeling like a weight on my shoulders or a burden that I needed to get baptized. And I communicated that to the church members, and they arranged for me to go meet the Archbishop Abuna Melchizedek. So we went and did an interview with him, and during that interview he asked me, "Will you preach?" And that immediately, when I heard that question, I was like, "Oh God!" I knew it was a calling from God. So I was like, "God, what do you have for me now?" So there, kind of like everything started from there, because I remember my previous life. How when I was a youngster, growing up as a kid, I was in the Catholic Church, and then I was in the Protestant Church as a teenager, and I used to be an evangelist in the Protestant Church. So later on, when I became involved in the Rasta movement, Rasta culture, I became a singer. And I always about message. So no wonder why my priest, when he baptized me, he named me Haile Gabriel. It's something that has been with me all my life, of telling good message to the people, bringing good message to the people. So I believe God chose me for this mission and this work. So around 2017, I visited the island with some friends with my family, and I met some friends. And I did a few reggae shows and so around the island to start talking about the idea of bringing the church to Puerto Rico. And I did one gathering at that time, a small gathering. And I kept on, after that, went back to California, and I kept pushing the idea and talking to people. And then in 2021, I decided to move back to the island. And a friend of mine had told me about this place in 2017, that time when I came to visit. But I didn't pay too much attention at that time. So in 2020, 2021, when I was seeing what COVID was doing in America, and this, all this government change from one party to another, one president to the other, on the riots, the disturbances, the city's on fire and all that, I said, time to go back home. And I called my friend who had told me about this place, and I asked him, "Hey, are you still selling that? Do you still have that land? I want to buy from you." And he said, "Oh yeah, I know you would like to buy that place. You're the only crazy guy that will go who will go live over there." When I came to see this place in 2021, it was look how you see that mountain full of vine. That's how the house looked. You couldn't even see no structure over here. You could see a little bit of that one and a little bit of the main house. If you look up where we have the church under the bamboo over there, to get to the church area, it was almost like mission impossible. You had to have like a machete and cut your way through the vegetation open. open your way to get up there. And then once I got up there, and I found the place that my friend had told me that he said, "Oh, it's mystic that you wanna build a church there because there used to be a church." And I was like, "What? There used to be a church?" So that's like a confirmation, because I thought, well, this is meant to be. So I went up there where the cross is. You can see the cross now, up there, and I found it. I found the cross, but it was covered with bamboo. I opened it up. I said, "Oh my God, the cross!" And I bowed down. I prayed, and I said, "God, this is amazing." And then I kept on looking for like the rest of the church. Maria had destroyed the old church, and I found the remains of the front wall and the front door. And then I say, "Oh God, I see." Then I looked down from over there, and I said, "Well, but we don't have hardly no parking lot over here. How could this work?" And something told me, it's not so much a church, but a monastery. And then immediately I imagine, Ethiopian monks walking up and down and things. I said, "Oh, I see it." And then I went back down and called my friend and said, "Let's do it." And then from there, the rest is history. I got in contact with the Archdiocese of the Caribbean and Latin America, Abunatarios, His Grace. I met him in California during the inauguration of the monastery in California, St. John the Baptist and St. Tersema. And from there, everything started flowing and moving. And by that time, our organization to get the church going was already being formed. Also, our chairman, Abba Jesus, helped me kind of like do the first baby steps, like register a non-profit organization and all that. By the grace of God, in 2023, Abunatarios consecrated the land, and we got into building immediately after on 2024. And by the grace of God, in January 2025, we were able to finish the church building and consecrate the church. And up to now, 2026, we are growing. Our church family is growing. We are baptizing people almost every month, new members. Almost every Sunday, somebody new that we don't know comes and shows up. So it's been really a miraculous journey. And I gotta acknowledge my brother Deacon Waldes Embed, because he believed in the project and he supported me from the beginning also. He was like my only right hand from 2021, 2022, 2023, the first visit of Abunatarios, and then the following the construction of the church, the inauguration of the church, and up to this day. And my family is a very important piece. My son, my wife, my daughter.